plane and a military helicopter collided mid-air last night in Washington, D.C.
Moments after Flight 4819 went down and caught fire.
37 just about to touch down on the runway, but quickly got airborne once again to avoid.
Planes are supposed to be the safest way to travel, but recent crashes have made us question everything. Near misses, fiery landings, and deadly collisions have left passengers shaken and investigators scrambling for answers. Today, we're breaking down the most shocking aviation disasters that have happened recently. And trust me, you won't believe how close some of these were to being even worse.
The Southwest flight in orange, making the split-second decision to abort the landing.
Imagine sitting on a plane, expecting a routine landing, when suddenly the engines roar and your plane shoots back into the sky. That's exactly what happened at Chicago's Midway Airport when a Southwest Airlines jet barely dodged a disaster. Thanks to newly released air traffic control audio, we now know that controllers frantically warned a private jet to stay put, warnings that were completely ignored. The Southwest crew had to act fast, initiating a go-around just seconds before a potential collision. While no one was hurt, this incident raised serious questions. Why didn't the private jet listen? And just how close did we come to seeing another major aviation tragedy? Investigators have since reviewed audio recordings and found that air traffic controllers issued at least 4 warnings to the private jet, a FlexJet Flight 560, instructing them to hold their position. However, the pilot seemingly disregarded these orders, creating a life-threatening situation. The Southwest Airlines plane, carrying passengers, had to abruptly change course to avoid impact. The crew's quick decision-making and experience likely prevented what could have been a mass casualty event. As of the latest updates, the Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, are actively investigating the near miss. The focus is on pilot deviation and whether communication breakdown played a role. With mounting concerns over aviation safety, officials have assured the public that safety measures are in place. But this incident has certainly shaken travelers who now wonder just how safe our skies really are. One major concern raised by aviation experts is whether the increased pressure on pilots and air traffic controllers due to ongoing staff shortages has contributed to these near misses. In recent months, there have been reports of exhaustion among air traffic controllers, leading to higher chances of human error. The FAA has now ordered a comprehensive review of communication protocols to prevent another incident like this from happening again.
People made it off the plane alive, most of them unhurt, even after it burst into flames and flipped upside down.
Now, let's talk about miracles. Delta Flight 4819, carrying 76 passengers and 4 crew members, crashed upon landing in Toronto. The plane skidded down the runway, flipped upside down, and burst into flames. If you think that sounds like a scene out of a Hollywood disaster film, you're not alone. But here's the twist. Every single person on board survived. Experts say it came down to a combination of split-second decisions, incredible engineering, and pure luck. The aircraft's design prevented the fuselage from being breached. The crew acted swiftly, and passengers scrambled out just minutes before the wreckage exploded into an inferno. But let's be real. This could have ended very differently. Investigators have analyzed the crash and determined that the plane faced severe crosswinds of nearly 40 miles per hour at the time of landing. This caused instability upon touchdown, leading to the collapse of the right landing gear. Once the landing gear failed, the aircraft veered off course, and the right wing scraped along the runway, igniting flames. The 16-year-old Bombardier CRJ-900 was a reliable aircraft, but experts now question whether older regional jets should undergo stricter maintenance checks. The latest updates from the Transportation Safety Board of Canada confirmed that the aircraft's fuel tank remained intact, preventing a major explosion. Additionally, the airport's emergency response team arrived within 2 minutes, which was crucial in evacuating passengers safely. Investigators are still reviewing flight data and cockpit recordings to determine if pilot error or mechanical failure was the primary cause. Aviation analysts are now debating whether more stringent landing protocols should be enforced at airports facing strong crosswinds. Some experts argue that pilots should be required to divert flights rather than risk dangerous landings, especially when operating older aircraft that may be more vulnerable to structural failures.
Into the deadly medevac crash in North Philadelphia. At least 7 people are dead, including a young boy and his mother.
Not all crashes have a happy ending. A horrifying tragedy unfolded in Philadelphia when a medical jet carrying a mother and child went down just seconds after takeoff. The jet plummeted to the ground, exploded on impact, and turned a bustling neighborhood into a war zone. Witnesses described a massive fireball, charred debris raining from the sky, and the sheer terror of seeing a plane plane crash in their own backyard. Investigators are now desperately searching for the black box to uncover what really happened in those final moments. Was it pilot error? A mechanical failure? One thing's for sure. This accident left an entire city shaken to its core. The aircraft, a Learjet 55 operated by Jet Rescue Air Ambulance, had just taken off from Philadelphia's Northeast Airport when it suddenly lost altitude. Radar data shows that the plane climbed to about 1,500 feet before making a sharp descent, crashing into a residential area. Tragically, all 6 people on board perished, including a young girl who was receiving medical transport to Mexico. Recent updates from the NTSB indicate that the jet's cockpit voice recorder has been recovered, and officials are analyzing the final conversations between the pilot and air traffic control. Early speculation suggests that engine failure or a mechanical issue could have been to blame. Families of the victims are now demanding accountability as the investigation continues. In response to this tragedy, aviation safety regulators are considering tighter maintenance and inspection protocols for medical transport flights, as these aircraft often make frequent high-pressure journeys. Some experts argue that these jets should have the same safety measures and maintenance requirements as commercial airlines.
Now at 11, heartbreak and new questions surrounding that deadly midair crash between a passenger jet and a military helicopter in Washington, D.C.
If you think plane crashes only happen on the ground, think again. In Washington, D.C., a horrifying midair collision between a plane and an Army helicopter was caught on camera. Security footage showed the moment of impact. 1 second, both aircraft were flying normally. The next, a fireball engulfed the sky. How did this even happen? Who was at fault? And more importantly, could it happen again? The investigation is still ongoing, but this accident has once again raised concerns about air traffic safety. According to preliminary reports, the accident occurred near Ronald Reagan National Airport. The private aircraft was on approach for landing when it suddenly veered into the Black Hawk military helicopter's path. Both aircraft collided in midair, sending debris crashing to the ground below. Emergency response teams rushed to the scene, but unfortunately, there were multiple casualties. Recent updates from the FAA and NTSB reveal that the cause of the crash may have been a miscommunication between air traffic controllers and the pilots. The private plane's pilot may not have been aware of the military helicopter's exact position, leading to the tragic collision. This has sparked renewed debate over whether civilian and military aircraft should be allowed to operate in such close proximity without better coordination. Many aviation experts are now calling for a dedicated military airspace zone to prevent civilian aircraft from inadvertently crossing paths with military operations. The FAA is reviewing whether additional air traffic control safety measures should be implemented to prevent similar accidents. With so many aviation accidents happening back to back, people are starting to wonder, is flying still safe? Air travel is statistically one of the safest forms of transportation. But let's be real, when you hear about multiple crashes in just a short span of time, it's impossible not to be concerned. Are airlines cutting corners? Is the FAA dropping the ball? Or are we just in the middle of a particularly bad streak of aviation disasters? What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that keep you on the edge of your seat. And remember, next time you board a plane, double check that seatbelt. You never know when it might save your life.